Okay, so project that I'm going to work on today is going to be turf here. So like I said, this turf just finally showed up last night. I ordered this athletic turf, and then I got T-line turf from the same company, which is the turf that's being used in the golf bays over there. And this had been sitting in town for quite a while, and they finally just dropped it off last night. So this is I want to say this is a 32-foot roll of turf, if I remember right. I think that's what I ordered. But basically, I'm going to have 50 feet of it running right down the center here, and then I'll have little strips of rubber on the ends of it as well. So now the company that we buy this turf from, they only ship it in 15-foot wide rolls. So unfortunately, I couldn't run it lengthwise without screwing up how I want to lay the rubber down. So what I'll have to do is kind of roll these out in 8-foot sections, try to cut it as straight as possible, and then seam it together in the center here. So the way that I've done this turf in the past is actually using this double-sided adhesive tape. Now this stuff does work fairly good, and I have done this before in a different facility, and it seems to be holding up just fine. But I think I'm going to use this on the outside edges of the turf, and then I'm going to use this floor bond tape in the center of it. So the issue with this stuff is it is expensive. I mean, this is a 75-foot roll, and I want to say this was $27, I think, just for one roll of this. And the problem is, every once in a while you'll get a roll and it just will not be sticky at all. So it's just kind of a complete waste, and it's kind of hit and miss with these. But this floor bond stuff, done multiple different rubber projects and fit ups, and this stuff works extremely well with rubber flooring. So that's what I've used. I literally can't even barely pull this up here. So this stuff works really well. So when we lay the rubber, I put a full strip on both sides of it, and then we kind of run pieces down the center as well. So these seams stay really tight and really flat on the ground. So I'm going to try to use this stuff on the turf as well in the center here. So yeah, I'm going to work on getting some of the stuff moved and cleaned up. Before we started laying all this other flooring, I did degrease and rinse the floor. So it's fairly free of dust, which is pretty much a must with this stuff. So I'm going to get all this stuff cleaned up and moved, get one more sweep in, and then I'll start trimming and cutting some of this turf and getting it dry fitted anyways. The way that I'm going to actually cut this and verify that I'm all square and everything is I'm actually using this control joint here to shoot my laser nice and straight. I got the lights off right now, so hopefully you can see a little bit better. But I need this to be as close as possible to exactly 8 feet wide, and that's because, like I said, once I lay this turf down, I'm going to have 2 more rows of 4-foot wide rubber on both ends, and I want that rubber to line up perfectly with the edge of that turf, because then I'll run a full length of rubber right after that as well. So this cut, I don't know how they cut this from factory, so I just want to verify that it's exactly or as straight as it can get, because it's going to make making the transition between the turf and rubber a lot easier if it is straight. So basically all I'm doing to verify that this is good to go is I'm going to set this at 8 feet and then just make sure I'm close to my laser, which it's pretty much perfect right there. So and I already checked the ends, so I just want to check a couple more spots, make sure we're sitting good. And there we go. It's pretty much perfect. So now I'll just go down with the razor blade. Use a fresh blade every time and swap them out. They're cheap, so it's just going to make it 10 times easier and quicker. So use my straight edge with a fresh blade and should cut right through it. One other thing I want to mention really quickly too is just why I flipped the turf over and cut it upside down is just because I've learned from past experience that it's very difficult to get a straight cut if you're trying to cut on the turf side, just because the turf itself wants to shift everything around. It's just hard to get your knife through there. So flipped it upside down. I just happen to have weights laying around to kind of hold it steady while I'm going across here, but it should be a lot easier to cut it when it's on the back side is facing up here.
Right. Is this what you talked about now? Yeah, he talks about his TRT protocol and kind of like the reality of how impactful it actually is, improving the performance, and how it makes you feel.
Okay, so I got this first piece cut and brought over here just to kind of see how it lines up with the turf. Now the turf has pretty much a perfect factory edge on it, so this actually cut extremely well. So I don't know if you're really going to be able to see that or not, but it's a nice and tight fit all the way across, which is good because what I'm trying to avoid is having to use any kind of transition strip on here. Just going to make it a little bit easier for the installation process and just look a little bit cleaner if it just goes straight from rubber to turf. So so I think this is going to work really well. So I'll end up cutting these flaps off and then just trying to seam it as best as I can. So I'm going to get the rest of this cut laid out and see how it looks here. All right, so I got this turf cut and laid out. I did end up deciding to cut it a little bit short here. So my original plan was to do 50 feet, but I kind of figured with the way that I'm going to have these machines laid out, if I pull this turf any further, we're going to potentially run the risk of people, if you're doing sprints down this or sled pushes or whatever, maybe not having enough space to quite stop before you hit the equipment. So it's kind of just I don't know, decided I wanted to go a little bit shorter just to maybe make it a little bit safer. So I had to cut pretty much all 4 sides on all 3 of these sections here, and if I'm being honest, it's kind of a nightmare. Doing turf this way is not fun at all. I think hindsight, it would be a lot more ideal just to get one full piece cut to width. It'd be so much easier, not have to worry about seams and stuff. But I think you really start getting a lot more expensive when you're looking at that option. So the company that I bought this stuff from, like I said, they only sell stuff in 15-foot widths. So I think that's kind of how they help keep their costs down quite a bit. So 3 15-foot sections, 8 feet wide for a total of 45 feet. So I want to get these next 2 rows of rubber put down first for a couple reasons. I need to see where this is all going to line up, and then I need to make sure, like, once these 2 pieces are down, when I run this 3rd piece here, that it's going to actually be straight with this edge, as well as kind of on the other side over there. And then the other thing is we're potentially going to move a couple pieces of equipment in here tonight, so I want to get this laid down hopefully before that happens. So that's what I'm going to do next here. So I had to take a break from working on the rubber because I was able to get Ryan to come help me actually move some equipment in here. So we used that cart that I just made the other day to move a bunch of the selectorized equipment out of the bay next door, and kind of started getting things put into place where somewhat in the areas that they're going to be, everything needs to kind of get spaced out a little bit more and tweaked and shifted around here. But super excited to finally kind of get some of the stuff moved over here to see how it looks with the different colors and everything. So I really like how the white looks with the green and the black and the acoustic paneling and everything. So super happy with how that's looking. So this equipment, got to clean things up on it still. Everything's going to get re-gripped. We'll be putting Birdies decals on everything and swapping out some of the pulleys and cables. Some of the upholstery is going to get redone. So this stuff, I actually bought this stuff probably 2 years ago, and it sat down sat down in storage in Rochester for almost 2 years, and then myself and my buddy Drew, we went and picked it up a couple weeks ago and dropped it off here. So it's kind of just been sitting next door until I was able to get some rubber down to get everything placed. So this kind of gives you all an idea of what the equipment's going to look like that's going to be in this bay. Some different machines coming here. I don't want to say quite yet what that is. It's all been ordered. Should be here in probably a week and a half or so. Then I'll kind of show everybody once that stuff gets dropped off here. But feel like I got quite a bit done today. The turf was a lot more of a pain than I thought it was going to be, so that kind of slowed me down a little bit. But tomorrow I'll get this rubber wrapped up, that rubber finished, and then I'll be able to run this next roll down, but I won't be able to secure it until I get another set of hands. So probably hop back over to the golf bays and keep working on carpet tile tomorrow.